Yeah, DLC quest or whatever. I don't remember the exact name.
That's the one. It was a really short game.
It was a fun idea, but I never actually cared enough for her to play it. Because, DLC... Yeah.
I found it quite amusing.
All right.
It was a joke game, yeah.
Last round for any questions that you might have before we begin the session. And Gryph, fuck your question that you asked before this call was started and I joined it.
What?
You're stupid, and everything you love deserves to burn forever.
Yeah, you get to burn forever.
Well,
that was a twist I didn't see coming.
I actually needed a few seconds to get that meaning. I was like, wait, what?
Oh, yeah.
Look, I'm not a thing. I'm someone. I said everything, not everyone.
But to me, you're a thing, because, you're internet.
You are it.
These are
Quoted
complications.
right back at ya.
Shut the fuck up, Griffin.
Oh, missed me here.
Why are you leaving your computer chair, then? Why do you miss that? You should be in your computer chair more often.
I should. I plan to be. At least for the next few hours.
Alright, fantastic. And a call to, if there's anything that you want to change in your token that doesn't break my campaign.
Yeah, I'm suddenly commander.
I'll just save it in my token now, then.
Yes,
Yeah.
you might wish to do that before she presses
prudent
a
idea.
button and I have to restart the server.
Again.
Reconnect. Sheep, what did you do?
I did nothing.
Exactly, why didn't you do something?
Start it.
So
Just
it
make simple
begins.
macros that actually roll some of my spells for me, because that makes it much easier.
Is there a macro that at least allows me to trigger a status effect and then remove a status effect?
Probably.
You could make one.
Speaking of which, I wanted to make my initiative.
Are you wanting it for your momentum?
Yeah.
Crap.
I can make one for you very quickly.
You need a jazz hands macro.
You also want to set it so that obviously all of your characters will be starting this with full health and full recoveries if they aren't already at that.
Yep. I actually do have a question. My nature talking, is there any limits to that?
Nature talking, that's a druidic class feature, right?
Yep.
What is
I get to talk to plants and animals.
Right, let's see here. Conversations are simple, and the feature doesn't really increase the plant or animal's brain power. So talking about animals about things like, are there other scary two-leggers around here, is probably the limit.
Yep.
Twice per day, a druid can talk with a non-hostile animal or plant for a short time. In battle, it takes 1 to 3 rounds. Sounds like your limit's right there.
Oh, right.
And if there's any useful information for the druid to gain out of the situation, they should roll a skill check that's appropriate for the tier. Talking to animals requires a hard DC, which at this tier is DC 20, and plants usually require a ridiculously hard DC, which is a DC 25.
Yay.
They have that as a definition. This is ridiculously hard.
Yes.
This is like way hard.
You're talking to algae.
There
Ultra
are,
hard.
Dude, talking to plants though, but
there are 3 suggested DC levels. There's normal, hard, and ridiculously hard. And for adventure tier, that's DC 25. Think of how likely you are to succeed at a DC 25 skill check with what you currently have. I know computer exactly.
Not very.
no.
Even if you rolled a 20, I still don't think you could do it unless
No.
unless you
The
were
highest
utilizing.
I can get is a 23, I think.
Like you would have to utilize some of your backgrounds, so it would be in specific situations.
Yeah, so
I can use my
don't do
background to do-
ridiculously hard things.
Because I do have a background that is sector 4.
He used the jazz hand state, which I had actually made to be vulnerable, but Gryph decided that he liked jazz hands, so.
Chief, I'm already writing it.
I'm done, basically. I just need the state.
Alright, you fucking nerds.
It's vulnerable. It's vulnerable.
Welcome to 13th Age. I'm Grimith, your game master, and I will be guiding you through this delightful system. When I invited you 5 to play, I told you that 13th Age is roleplay heavy and rules light. This tabletop devotes itself to giving you, the players, both creative flexibility and dramatic authority, without worrying about an accurate simulation that's straight from the book. These concepts already existed in our hobby, but they're novel to D20, and perhaps to you as well. Some of you expressed difficulty with making starting characters who have rich backgrounds and connections. Thankfully, you all survived the challenge. Let's begin with your characters. I'd like each of you to introduce who you are playing to everyone at the table. Be as descriptive or as vague as you'd like, and we'll go in order in which I confirm that you people would be in the campaign, starting with Dark.
Woo! First. Well, I am playing Leon Demnera, who is a human sorcerer who has spent quite a lot of time traveling and otherwise, you know, going around doing various jobs for both the Archmage and the Priestess, and has a rather close fighting style in combat, unusual for sorcerers. I don't know if you want me to describe how my character looks or anything, Grimith. That's...
You can if you like.
Sure. Leon is rather short for, and he's rather short, only about 5'4". It's quite lithe, lightly built overall, and decently young. He has long black hair and a pair of emerald green eyes that almost just seem to stare into you quite intently. He's dressed quite lightly, his arms being revealed, and wearing only a light shirted vest on his main body. Long black pants and a pair of boots suitable for long distance travel. He's below. Against his side, he has a long black sword, and against his belt, he has a crossbow, also painted quite black with small little engravings. Around his neck, he has a strange, unusual curved cross on a chain.
All right, Sheep, you're up next.
Sure. My character is Thomas Tonell, who is a former guard captain in Santa Cora, who has decided that the job wasn't quite for him, among other things, and went back home to his hometown, slightly southwest of Santa Cora, where he decided to renovate one of the old buildings and opened a tavern there. That has been what he's been doing the last years, but now, as it happens, he is on his way to Newport along the other people. He is clad in a breastplate combined with some leather armor. He is wearing a sheathed short sword at his belt, along with a variety of tools, such as a small hammer and multiple small axes, and has a large backpack that likely contains whatever one would need on a long travel. Other than that, well, he is of a rather broad build with dark brown hair and a rather long beard that he tends to care for rather intently whenever the party rests.
All right.
And that's it.
Asthma Man, how about you?
Alright. I am playing as a druid called Fargus. The most distinguishing feature about him is that he has white glowing eyes with small scars around them, looking like knife cuts. He has long brown hair and a beard, and a cloak made up of an elk fur, and has a belt filled with small animal bones, such as bird skulls and such. He also has a crude spear made from a sharpened antler as the point instead of iron or metal or whatever. He's usually a very calm person, but he sometimes gets like nervous twitches and stuff, suddenly looking up into the sky and seeming to be alert, but nothing really there. And he also seems to enjoy traveling. These last few days you have been out. But otherwise, you don't really know that much about him. He has told you that he have been traveling for a while, and that he went to Santa Cora in search of the undead.
All right. Manaki? Manaki.
Yeah, unmuted.
I figured if I kept saying your name enough.
Indeed, that usually works. Well, I play Dwohurim, a dwarven wizard. He usually, sort of looking at him, he's tall for a dwarf, which is by itself usual. He seems to have a very strong build, which is unusual for his profession. He is generally wearing a long, sort of dark woolen cloak that covers almost his entire back and shoulders, hiding much of what he has in his belt and such. If peered under it, or sort of in the front where it's open usually, at least in good weather, a sort of thick red and brown robe of sort of thin leather, mostly, fastened with a thick leather belt at the waist. All sorts of bags and little things hanging on his belt, as well as a hook where he usually hooks in the ring that is in his spellbook. Fairly heavy red spellbook, sort of wide white edges. In his hand, he usually has a walking stick, a staff that he will sometimes be using in his spells, although it doesn't seem too magical by itself, more like a tool and implement. On his shoulder, he often has his raven. It usually just goes by the name of Raven. He doesn't seem to really have given it a name, really. More a traveling companion than a familiar, really. He doesn't really seem to use it for his spells or anything. He just enjoys the company of something that is quiet when he has to think. His beard, which is, of course, something that's important, is long and sort of black in the color, sort of a not a sort of strong black, more of a pale black, slightly graying in the edges, which is unusual for him, as he doesn't seem to be very old. Probably looks older than he is. His hands are very sort of gnarled and strong, and seem to have been used for a lot of heavy sort of work. Again, unusual for his profession. His eyes, however, are bright blue, and sort of mostly hidden under the leathery hood he wears over his head.
All right. Griffin God.
Okay, I play as a rogue named Tempus. While he looks distinctly average as a human, he's about 5'10", well, a bit over 6 foot, sorry, and looks human. He has skin, hair, eyes. He's not human. He's actually Forgeborn, and he's happy to discuss it, especially because, seeing the fact he very, very, very rarely eats and spends a lot of time not sleeping, but sort of fiddling with parts of himself. Not that way. He takes a lot of time sitting and experimenting with stuff. He's dressed in leather clothing, straps, buckles all over him, with a considerable number of pockets. He always seems to sort of find a way to pull something out of a pocket, be it a little bit of a gear or half-penny coins. He has this habit of just pulling something out and starts crafting and tinkering away. Something that he always seems to pull out is actually a little music box that he, decides to fiddle away at to create new tunes and new interesting sounds. While he's always happy to discuss himself, he's nervous around dwarves. Something about them makes him a bit uneasy. And, especially any dwarf makes him nervous. I do hasten to add in that one. He, as said, he's a Forgeborn that doesn't like dwarves. He is also very happy. He's on his arms. He seems to have what is a bracelet, but if he fiddles with it a bit, it actually assembles itself into a wrist bow, which he uses for range, and as a melee weapon, up his other sleeve is a rather large wrench. And that is Tempus.
Straight out of System Shock 2. All right. Let's see here. Now, it's time for you folks to roll icon relationship dice, and we'll get to you one at a time. As a reminder, each character gets 3 relationship points to connect themselves with the icons. Each point gives you a d6 when you're trying to leverage your connection to the icon. And let's go through one player at a time in the same order. Dark, roll your icon relationship dice. Alright, Leon is not able to leverage his connections with the icons into a material advantage this session. Sheep, go ahead and roll your relationship dice.
Ooh.
Jesus.
That's value right there.
2 5s. I like it. I like it. I like it.
And a 6. And a 6.
And a 6. Yes. Well, the night before your journey begins, Thomas has a perplexing dream. It's of a woman, clad in heavy armor, morning star raised high, standing alone on a battlefield against a wave of darkness sweeping across the plain. She grits her teeth, looking up at the waning sunlight before letting out a battle cry and charging forward. That is the image of the woman you see.
I'm not going to click on it. I don't need to look at that. That's Sheep's dream.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Now, as for your priestess connection, before your group departs Santa Cora, Thomas has a chance encounter with an acolyte of the priestess. Upon learning of Thomas's plans, she remarks how Dirk is one of the good guys. 3 years ago, during a dreaded outbreak of mountain misery, Dirk worked tirelessly to deliver medicine between Santa Cora and Newport at no cost. She also politely requests that you deliver a sealed message scroll to Senator Carmilla Cabot of Foghaven.
Write that down.
Oh, Thomas will accept, and I'm writing this down.
Fantastic. Okay, next up, Asthma Man. Go ahead and roll your icon relationship dice. Okay.
Right.
Before your group departs Santa Cora, a spirit suddenly manifests before Fargus. It's a translucent, barely humanoid shape with glowing orbs of green for eyes, which lock onto the druid. In an unstable voice, the mysterious spirit says,
"There is activity ahead. The Lich King is on the move. Beware Foghaven."
And then the spirit disappears.
Okay.
Manaki, roll your relationship dice. Okay. The night before your journey begins, Dwohurim has a few drinks with a fellow dwarf, who is also a minor functionary of the Archmage. As the hours pass, the functionary expresses regret over Dwohurim's recent fortunes and hands him a ritual scroll. This is a specialized ritual, one which may only be cast upon an animal-pulled cart or wagon upon the Imperial Highway. If you do so, the wagon and the animals pulling it are imbued with great speed and endurance, allowing them to travel further for a limited time. Mechanically, you'll only need 1 week to cross the Wild Wood. Should you so use the ritual, Manaki.
Yeah. All right. That's a good thing.
Yes.
Although it does little to raise his mood. It's a nice gesture.
Yeah. The functionary is, he sympathizes a little bit, but he probably hasn't had his entire fortunes and dreams dashed by the High Druid.
Mm-hmm.
And, Tempus, go ahead and roll your relationship dice.
All right. Oh.
Okay. Okay. Now, Tempus, you're always on the lookout for opportunity. It's kind of what you do. You're an opportunistic fellow, and you haven't exactly made any friends of the dwarves over the course of your life. So when the chance opportunity comes to pilfer some goods from a dwarven merchant trading in Santa Cora, You just can't quite pass up the opportunity, managing to acquire what appears to be an exquisitely rare bottle of dwarven brandy. Now, what you're not expecting is actually a note attached to the dwarven brandy, which ends up saying, in flowing script, "The Whispering Ravinger may charge a toll for your passage. Try paying with this." And I will copy pasta the note text for you.
Okay.
Let's see here. That is 2 5s and a 6 for Thomas, a 6 for Fargus, and a 5 for Hiram, as well as a 6 for Tempus. Leon couldn't leverage much of anything this session, but that's okay, because Sheep fucking leveraged the stars.
I am the lever.
Okay.
Okay.
But on a different note, could you repeat that senator's name?
Yes, I will go ahead and repeat the senator's name for you. It's Carmilla Cabot.
Thank you.
Could you also repeat the name of the place I was supposed to be afraid of?
I mean, guys, it's that one for both of you.
Yes, Foghaven.
Just if like.
Oh,
That
which is
little press like
conveniently
that.
on our route.
Yeah.
Yes, conveniently located there. Wow. How about that? It's like right there on the highway.
It wouldn't be much of a help if it was, oh, you had a dream about how you should act if you were in Starport right now.
No,
That would be
but
super
I just
unhelpful.
forgot the name.
I like how we've got two contravening orders here, like obviously, because it's governed by a senate led by a female, Carmilla Cabot, which is one of them. And the other one is get the fuck away from it, just avoid it. Nope.
Hey, you are willing to take whatever advice you learn and use it however you would like.
I got a bottle. I'm happy.
That's right.
Got
Now,
a scroll, I'm happy. Seems to
I shall-
black market.
I shall wishfully think about maybe I'll get a dice one day.
so shall Dwohurim actually be utilizing that ritual?
Yeah, he will. Before we sort of leave, he'll approach Dirk and say that you know, he really doesn't want to be in the Whispering Wood for longer than needed, and he has this a friend of his has brought him the scroll that he think might be helpful to us. It should cut 2 days off the travel time through the woods.
Dirk says, "That's fantastic. By all means, I do not wish to stay in there any longer than need be. Go for it."
Good. He'll use the ritual scroll.
All right. The wagon wheels as well as the horse hooves have a slight blue glow to them.
As he whispers the magical words, and well, the winds of magic sort of begin to improve the strength and the speed. Sort of any muscles that might be strained or weakened are repaired and put in the right places. As it's all in pristine condition.
All right. You 5 are on the road to Newport, escorting Dirk and his covered wagon. It's currently the 12th of Patchwall. If you'll actually look over to the right of the Dragon Empire map, you'll notice a calendar for this month, with a stupid goblin there on the current day.
Hey, stupid goblin.
It's currently the 12th of Patchwall, 2 days into your journey. The mid-morning sun glints at you through the thick canopy, and a cold wind sweeps down the highway, covering it with a flurry of leaves. The journey thus far has been uneventful and quick, thanks to Hiram's contribution, but the merchant is quick to remind you all that danger lurks everywhere in the treacherous wild wood. "Whoa there," Dirk calls, bringing his horses to a stop. Up ahead, some 30 meters, through the scattering leaves, you spot several things. One of them, a spider the size of a horse, lies motionless in the middle of the highway. Sprawled out on the ground near the spider are 2 humans and an elf. All 3 humanoids are nude and still, and even at this distance, obviously decaying. You think you can smell them from here. What do you do?
Hesitate.
Gryph will sort of walk using his walking stick to sort of support him as he walks to the front of basically in front of the horses. to get a better look, and he'll sort of try to look into the sides of the forest to see if there's anything lurking in there.
All right. I would like for you to make a wisdom-based skill check. This is a 1d20 plus your wisdom modifier plus your level plus a background you think would be relevant for doing this.
And this is where I make an argument for why, correct?
Yes.
For example, so to say that the Dwohurim has been a frontier prospector for a good part of his life, and he is used to walking around in forests, and he is certainly used to looking for danger in forests. Not to say that, well, especially the wild wood. He has been looking for danger and trying to investigate or try to find out, basically look out for predators many times in his life. And this is just another one of those.
I think your background applies.
Right. Good. Then that is 1d20.
Mm-hmm. Plus your wisdom modifier.
Plus 1 for my level, plus 2 for my wisdom, and plus 3 from my background.
Yes.
15.
Okay. Dwohurim, as he scans the forest, notes 4 humanoid-shaped figures lurking in the trees on either side of the highway. Basically, near, like, the bodies, so they're still, like, 30 meters ahead of you. You can't make out exactly who they are or, like, what they're wearing, but it's, like, 4 humanoid-shaped shadows.
They're trying to hide.
Yes.
Yes.
And while this is happening, Thomas would definitely think that this is obviously a distraction and look behind us to see if we are on our way to getting surrounded.
Okay.
Perhaps?
You may also make a wisdom-based skill check using your level, your wisdom modifier, and a background you think is relevant. Which I don't think you have to make a case for your guard-watching type background, even though it's not forest-oriented. I think it applies.
Yeah, this is certainly an ambush, a potential ambush situation, and Thomas had seen some of those in the past.
Well, Thomas is extremely confident there is no one creeping behind him, or on either side near the wagon. But as he turns to look forward, his eyes narrow and he notices that spider isn't actually dead. It's twitching a little bit, very, very still, and incredibly well hidden, as if it's trained to play dead. But you notice, like, one of the legs moves a slight bit. And there's also not just 4 ambushers. There's a 5th one as well, further ahead along the road.
Yeah, Thomas will stick close to the wagon and whisper to anyone close in a way that makes his mouth move as little as possible, just the details. Things like 4 humans besides the corpses, 1 further ahead. The spider is not dead. Watch out. Behind us seems to be free.
When Thomas says that the spider is not dead, Fargus will try to see if the humans are also not dead. See if they're undead.
You can make a wisdom-based skill check for this as well. A d20 plus level plus your wisdom modifier plus a background you think is relevant.
I would think that my undead hunter background is relevant in this case.
Yes.
Seeing as Fargus has had experience with undead in the past.
I agree.
Right. Let's see. Plus.
It's a little difficult to tell at this distance. However, you're confident that these humanoids lying on the side of the road are dead, rather than animated.
Alright, then Fargus will say, the spider might be alive, but the humans are definitely dead.
We'll just sort of mumble, sort of filled with smolder anger. They're hiding in the trees.
Well,
Of course they are.
just to say, obviously we've stopped. Obviously they've seen us. Perhaps one of us can make it look as if we're walking up and prepare for a bit of a surprise ambush. How about that, eh?
A counter ambush. I like to
Of
think.
course, especially it's always a bit of fun that way. Now, I obviously volunteer myself. This should be a bit of fun. Especially seeing as, well, some of you chaps seem to be much better at range. I much prefer getting into the thick of it.